What's up and welcome to Me, You, and Switch 2. I am me, Tom Tate, and you are you, so let's talk about Switch 2. This is the latest and greatest Nintendo Switch 2 news brought to you every Tuesday and Friday in snackable 5 to 10 minute episodes. Today happens to be Tuesday. It is July 7th. It is actually 8:36 a.m. on the East Coast. This is episode 115. Before I begin, you'll notice a dip in the audio quality today. I'm not at home in the basement dungeon with my full setup. I'm recording on vacation, so I'm back to kind of an echoey little bedroom, but I do have a better lav mic, a little, just clip-on lav mic this year. Hopefully it's all good on your end, maybe a little bit better than last year's vacation episodes. Before we get into it, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to D News for leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. D News writes, sick podcast, gave a 5-star review, big fan at the moment. He's a natural on the mic and I can get all the gaming news I need. Just a reminder, this is a no ad, no promotion, no paid Patreon podcast. So this podcast, Me, You, and Switch 2 absolutely runs on your listens, your reviews, your referrals, your positive vibes alone. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the kind words. I don't know that I'm a natural on the mic, but I appreciate those kind words from you. We also just passed 15,000 downloads, which for a one-man show feels pretty good to me. So I appreciate all the support I can get. Speaking of positive vibes, it is a sad time to be a gamer if you listen to other gaming podcasts or if you read the news. So I could go deep into all the negative news. Xbox parting ways with multiple studios. We have layoffs. We have price increases on the software side and the hardware side. We have the end of physical media for PlayStation and probably Xbox too. Let's not make this episode all about that. I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to try to cherry pick some positive reasons to get behind Switch 2 at the very moment. There's a lot of things to be happy about, so let's look for the positive. First up, there are a lot of games on the way. Last week, Saber Interactive showed off a Turok Origins gameplay trailer, and this game is looking way better than it has any right to look. There's both a solo mode and a co-op mode for this one, so this should end up dropping in the fall of this year. No specific release date, but I'll link to the trailer if you want to check out the gameplay. Looks great. We also learned the official release date of Oblivion Remastered last week. That's going to be August 11th, so it'll be here before you know it. There will be a physical edition with a game card that contains the full base game, which is exciting for a lot of people who are really clinging to physical media, myself being one of them. This is a solid move from Bethesda. I appreciate it. I sunk a ton of hours into the remaster last year on Game Pass. I jumped right back into the Thieves Guild quests. It felt right at home to be back in Oblivion. Great game to have on Switch 2. There was a small but nice update to Mario Kart World last week, adding the ability to put stickers on photos in photo mode. And there are 2 new routes in Knockout Tour, which is their online elimination mode. In the rumor department, we had a couple rumors last week. There was a Brazilian ratings site that leaked a rating for Metroid Ravenous. This is a title we haven't seen or heard about yet, so maybe we have a new Metroid title waiting in the wings. We also saw a bunch of DLC for Final Fantasy VII Revelation listed on the Epic Game Store. So this is part 3. This will come out next year. But that DLC, those listings were quickly taken down. There weren't any details, just a bunch of line items. And one of the DLC line items was Story Expansion Pack. So a lot of fans are speculating on what they might be, or what that might be. And if that means we'll get a deeper look at like Advent Children, or Dirge of Cerberus, like all these different Final Fantasy VII properties that came later. Maybe they show up in the expansion pack. We'll find out. The game Steins Gate Reboot, which is a remake of Steins Gate, is hitting Switch 1 and 2 on October 29th. The developer Spike Chunsoft recently announced Steins Gate Octet of Shifting Space. Now, this is a 2011 PC release that asks the question, what if Steins Gate were recreated on a PC from the 1980s? And that aesthetic, that gameplay has been faithfully recreated to showcase that experience in the Steins Gate universe. These are narrative-driven games, but they are kind of cult classics. I've never played a Steins Gate game, but like I've been meaning to play one for a while, so this might be a good opportunity for Switch 2 fans. Capcom, who is bringing Mega Man Dual Overdrive to Switch 2 next year, announced that they'll be celebrating Mega Man's 40th anniversary and making plans for additional Mega Man titles, even if they're kind of spliced in between those retro collections that they've been known to bring out. But they said that Mega Man is alive and well, and they'll continue to make it appeal to new audiences. Capcom also announced last week that Onimusha Way of the Sword will now release on the 4th of September, which is 3 weeks earlier than planned. Great news. If you wanted to play that game, you'll be able to pick it up a little bit earlier. Orbitals, which is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive game. This is kind of that co-op game like Split Fiction or It Takes Two. This game is inspired by 80s and 90s Saturday morning anime cartoons. It looks really fantastic. It is releasing just one day before on September 3rd. They announced a physical edition with the full game on the cartridge. So Nintendo's official YouTube channel also shared Orbital's opening animation, which is a 4-minute video. I watched this last night. I'm very excited for this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to link to that video in the show notes if you want to check that out. Okay, we can keep the positive vibes going with this next one. Rhythm Heaven Groove is getting a ton of 8s and 9s out of 10, a couple 4s out of 5, a few perfect scores too. The Metacritic is sitting at around 82. I try to keep this podcast focused on Switch 2 exclusive games. So this game doesn't technically have a Switch 2 edition. So I didn't do like a full review roundup or a deep dive into Rhythm Heaven Groove, which just came out. But Nintendo Life did. So I'm going to link to that article if you're interested in Rhythm Heaven Groove. North American Splatoon fans might be able to get a feel for Splatoon Raiders at their local Nintendo kiosk. These are at Best Buy, Walmart, Target, GameStop. There's a new playable demo available if you go check that out. No guarantees, but I remember my son and we popped into a Best Buy just a few weeks before Donkey Kong Bonanza was released, and it was there, and we got a chance to play that ahead of the release, and it was great just to get a feel for it. Way Forward just teased the 7th Shantae game. This will release in 2027, so if you are a fan of Way Forward or the Shantae series, this is another thing to get excited about. Nintendo also announced last week a ton of hardware revisions that will kind of start in Europe and certain regions. This is going to include a full Switch 2 hardware revision with a replaceable battery. It's going to impact a couple controllers as well. This is to comply with a new EU ruling that consumers should be able to, replace their own batteries. Batteries should be replaceable. This is definitely a pro-consumer move, so I'll slot this in as another piece of good news. And last but not least, popular magazine and outlet Famitsu, their readers had voted Nintendo as the #1 developer, which is super high praise. They beat out a lot of other very popular Japanese developers like Square Enix. And Nintendo responded, and here's a quick translation of just a bit of their response. I thought this was really awesome. Ever since the Famicom NES was released in 1983, we have created chances for many to give video games a try, and we are grateful to Famitsu for keeping customers excited and supporting us across those 40 years. During these 40 years, technology related to game development has evolved, and the environment has changed as well, but we have continued to keep originality as our central theme, going through trial and error and learning many things while creating entertainment with the goal of putting smiles on customers' faces. If this 40-year-long path has become a part of everyone's memories, there is nothing that would make us happier. So with that, putting smiles on customers' faces, I'm going to get back to my vacation. I hope that you get back to a positive and fruitful week. I hope it's awesome for you. Switch2pod.com. That's switch with the number 2pod.com for show notes and all of that stuff. Subscribe links. Switch2pod on Blue Sky and Instagram if you need to reach me. I'll be back on Friday with the latest news. Much love. Now go play some games.